be around people that can help guide you in the right direction. Because if you just go as a young man to college and you're a great athlete and you're popular and you don't have good guidance, proper guidance, you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall because I had all the guidance, I had a strong foundation, and it was still a difficult area for me to grasp hold on. And I have a son now who is 20 years old, and he also has a child he had a child at a young age. Just like myself, raising my oldest daughter while I was in college, and sorry, the reality is, I laid everything out for my son. He had everything, but this is what we talked about 20 minutes ago. It doesn't mean that you won't mess up. But let me tell you something right now. I was still a great father for my daughter. I take her to class with me sometimes. With my wife. Well, we weren't married at the time, but he is a great father now because even though he messed up and Daddy taught him about the pitfalls, etc., etc., he's understood where the mistake was. He stepped up, and now he's taking on the responsibility. At 20, he's working, he's in college, he's raising his daughter, he's doing all of that. And so I said all that to say, for those young people that are in that situation, it's a lot stronger when you have a positive person there to help mentor you and guide you, because if not, you know what it's like when you was already in Europe and in college and the girls were coming. If you don't have someone positive constantly trying to help you, you're gonna fall. And so I'm not gonna sit here and say it's impossible, but you gotta have a solid surrounding to help you in this, because there will be sometimes individuals that will try to do that just to have a baby for you. And like I said, at that moment it may feel good and everything, but here you are locked in for the next 18 years, and the lady may not even, she just wanted that to make sure that she could take care of herself. And that's the reality, and I'm not knocking female. I'm just saying you have to look at the entire scope of the whole picture, and that's the reality of it. So for those guys that are out there, you have to surround yourself with positive, strong, solid surroundings.
I love it, man. When I hear you say it, I often think to something, one of the OGs on one of my teams told me, he was like, don't get caught up in a snapshot. Snapshots are cute, but it's the panoramics. Those are the ones that are golden. They give you the whole picture. He said sometimes you as a young player, you get so caught up in what you see in the moment, like you jump, snapshot. It's only a quick glimpse. And sometimes I tell people, sometimes our mistakes are snapshots.
That's right.
They're not a full glimpse of who we are. And if you learn the lesson from it, now as you look at the panoramic later, it's just a piece of the puzzle that makes the whole thing beautiful. And I love how you said that about your son, man. Because I don't believe it's a mistake. I think anytime you go through something and you learn, it's just a lesson. It's not the lesson we as parents designed for our kids or we would want them to go through, but the lessons learned, and he moves forward.
And listen, and I don't say that to try to make him feel any less.
No.
I truly feel, like you said, it's a blessing and an experience because of the fact, like, I can go and talk to people about, don't use crack. Here's the statistics for using crack, and this and this and this is going to happen. But if I had an individual who has recovered from crack and lived through it, and they tell their story, people are more apt to listen. Not saying they won't listen to me, and I'm got all the facts, but the individual who's lived through that. So the fact that I was able to go to college, help raise my daughter, stay focused, get my degree, and then try to teach my son. And even though he went and had a child at a young age, he's still able to say to other young people, like, here's the deal. It's hard. Like the other day, he wanted to go out. And like, David, you're gonna watch him? Like, nope, I'm not. So he misses out sometimes. But if he goes to talk to young people about making sure that you're smart when it comes to sexual activity, et cetera, they'll be like, oh, this 20-year-old guy is living for this as some good advice. Like, so, no, and that, like you say, having pictures of areas of your life where you've messed up, you can use that, like you say, to help better your future. Have a better, like you said, a panoramic view of what your future holds, man. That's good stuff, son. I love it. I love it.
So, Benz, I want to be conscious of your time, but I have to tap into it, man, because
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good on time, bro.
The reality is you leave Bermuda and you become a Hall of Famer. Walk me through that. What is your emotions like? Because it's different, man. I've been blessed to be inducted into a Hall of Fame, and to just walk me through your emotions as you go in. It's a place where you've been. It's an area where you've mastered, and now to be acknowledged for the hard work you did. Just walk us through it, man. How did that feel for you?
Wow, that was crazy, man. So I was back. When I went to UMES, there was a bunch of different options that I had. You know what I'm saying? Back in Bermuda, back in the day, colleges from the East Coast would come to Bermuda during, and this is, yo, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I know some people say that's a weird saying, but you gotta remember, you and I grew up when we were trying to play ball. Benton played on Saturdays. You see what I'm saying? So at 12 and 13, I had to jump off and play with the juniors because the juniors played at 1 o'clock before the premier team. And little did I know that allowed the premier coaches to see this light-skinned, skinny dude play ball. And so at 16, that gave me a chance to play at the premier level. So the colleges will come to watch the high school showcase. Bermuda Institute didn't play in the showcase. But while they were there, they said, well, let's go watch Kimmy play. And Sean Simmons from Somerset, I don't know if you remember Sean. We were playing Somerset up at PHC Field on a Thursday night. And the coaches were still there for the Friday night showcase. So Sully, they got a chance to see us play in a cup semifinal with the premier team, not high school showcase. And so I got offers from Rutgers and Old Dominion and Howard and UMES. And these are great schools. But I said, Lord, why do you feel? When you go to college, you want to play right away. I knew I wasn't going to play in my first couple of years at those other big schools. But UMES was like, cool, we'll get you playing from your freshman year. That right there is like, okay, cool. That's going to give me a chance to play all 4 years, grow and become a better player. So when the coach called, the first time he called, he was like, hey man, your name's been put in for Hall of Fame. I was like, stop it. My coach was named Sam Douglas. He actually was a Bermudian. He played for Colts. You probably know Sam. And he was like, you put your name in. I don't know what's going to happen, man. There's not too many soccer players that make it into the Hall of Fame at UMES. It's all football and track and basketball and Art Shao from the Raiders. He's the big time Hall of Famer. And he said, we hope you get in, man. So I'm like, cool, man. I'm just glad that I got nominated. And a couple of weeks later, man, your boy called. And he was like, you did it. Like, it happened. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you got in, man. They took you in. And
Right there. What's the feeling?
Right
What's the feeling? Right there, when you hear you're in. What is your feeling right then and there? What's going through your mind? What emotions come out right then and there?
First thing I was like, praise the Lord. But then I was like, yo, Daddy, I called my wife. I said, Daddy, I'm in. And she just hugged me. I'm not a real emotional crier type guy, so I didn't really cry. But I was like, all the hard work. When something like that happens, they can never, ever take it from you. No matter what happens else in life. Like, that's history that goes in the books that never can be taken from you. And it was just so much excitement, relief, hard work. Like again, and you know what popped back in my mind? My old man's statement. You're gonna be good, but if you want to be great. And I remember running through the trees on the golf course, the juggling, the suicides, not hanging out with my boys when they were racing the bikes, all that type of stuff, man. It all came back and was like it's worth it. And so, we got a picture and it's hanging up here in my basement. And when I go to the games at UMES, like I just look up there and say, like, they can never take that from me. They can never take all your hard work is paid off. Every time a UMES folk walks through, they see Kimmy. And the amazing thing about it, right, is that I'm the only soccer player, and it will probably be the only soccer player ever because they've cut the soccer program at UMES.
Wow.
So it's a piece of history that I can honestly say the only person that will ever probably do that at that school. Not saying that I selfishly wanted to be like that, but the circumstances have dictated because there is no soccer program. They're trying to get it back. But it's one of those things that the Lord was able to bless me in a way that, and I do want to make sure that I say that during my Hall of Fame speech, I gave honor and glory to God. And some people say as a commercial type thing, but I really meant it was sincere from the bottom of my heart. My abilities and all of that came straight from the good Lord above. And the fact that I feel like because I did my best to try to portray a Christian attitude, I feel like he was saying, well, here's a reward for it. And some people are like, well, UMES is a tiny school, and I'm like, it don't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
it's something that goes down as history.
I love it, man, because one of the great things of being in the Hall of Fame is it's almost like a book, but it's different from a book because books may go out of publication, but your name never leaves those rafters, and it outlives you. And when I went to get inducted in the Hall of Fame, my kids were like, Dad, it's not that deep. It's not. I said, it's not that deep now. But one day we're going to travel here. And I'm going to let you walk in here and you'll see history, something that will live beyond me. And it's an amazing feeling to see in the moment people enjoy you. But when you come back later and you still see that appreciation that can outlive you, man, that's why I wanted to ask you. That's why, I apologize. I cut you right off. I was like, what did you feel right then and there? Because when I saw my name go up, I was just like, all the hours, the broken bones and all of this stuff. People may have laughed at me, talked about me, but hey, guess what? You know what I mean? To remember your name, the only way you'll be remembered is on your tombstone. But if people want to know who you are,
because obviously as Christians, you and I, we obviously believe that when the Lord comes back, that we're going to spend salvation and eternity with Him. But when you're here on earth, you do want to leave a positive legacy. You see what I'm saying? My son, the very first time my son, because he goes to UMES, the same school. He's there studying to be an electrical engineer. The first time that he texted me and said, yo, Daddy, I see your picture up in the rafters. Man, I almost cried, because he calls me old man, and you can't hang no more, but he knows down in his heart, that his old man was a great player. And history has shown it. And even when I think, this is so funny, even when I think of the times that I chose UMES, and people say, well, you didn't choose Old Dominion, or why you didn't go to Howard, or what, because of whatever. I know for a fact that I would not have made the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Because of the fact that, one, I probably would have been on the bench the first 2 years, because, and you know how it works in college, you usually got to be phenomenal to be starting as a freshman in a big school.
Yep.
And I was a good player. But I know I was not going to come into a Howard or Rutgers, one of those schools, and just jump right in and play every single game for 4 straight years. And so those people that were like, you went to UMES, they're back, and we used to spank you guys, 4-zip, and whatever it was. But now I have something that they can't say that they have. And as a competitor, you know, you go to your grave, if you're an athlete and a competitor, you might say, who gets upstairs first? Like, I can say, like, I made a Hall of Fame. You had it.
And it's crazy because you know, it's funny because one of my daughter's friends came over. He's an athlete, and he was saying, you know, you're this, that, and the other. And one thing I told him was, one thing is for sure: as long as Google exists, I'll exist.
Yeah, your boy Shaq said it on TNT. You gotta Google me, Chuck.
But it's a great thing to know that there's something that outlives you and lives on even if you happen to go. So Kimmy, before we go, last question I want to get from you to make sure. I always try to ask any of our panelists or any of our guests, leave us with something that you can leave for that generation who's maybe looking to go to the Hall of Fame, who's maybe looking to even play professional in any sport. What's one nugget that you would like to leave with them?
One nugget that I would like to leave with this generation that aspiring to be a great athlete or trying to be pro player, Division I college. It's hard for me to give one, so I'm going to give a couple nuggets in a one block span. See, I got to think outside the box. But number one is you have to set a goal for what you want. And I see it out here in the States a lot. Parents usually make the decision for their child at a young age. So they want to be a baseball player. You should see them. I live beside a little league baseball field. You should see dads that are out there. Like once the game's over, or if there's no game, got the little kids and let room to their boys. So the parents start them out, and then along that way, their child gets that passion. You have to set a goal to say, I want to be able to play, go to college. I want to become a professional, or I want to be great at the sport that I play. So that, for me, number one, you have to set a goal. Number two, you have to sacrifice in order to reach the goal. So what I'm saying is, like we talked about earlier, my old man reminded me, sometimes you have to miss out. Sometimes you want to go to the mall with your girlfriend or your boys, whatever, but you might have to stay in the gym and put up 50 extra free throws, or do a couple more suicides so that you finish first. Because when you think about it, there are thousands of other athletes trying to do what you want.
Millions, billions.
So you have to go that extra mile. And so when I say that, there was a motto that I had that goes with, so number one was have to go, number two was you have to sacrifice. There was a motto that I used to have, and then I told it to my boys when I was coaching. If you want to be great, there is no off season. They were like, what? What do you mean there is no off season? So